Pretty sure it is. What up? It's another episode of the High Definition Podcast. I'm Maurice.
And I'm Torez.
And we are back for another episode, my brother.
Yo.
How's it going?
Same old.
Yeah.
Everything copacetic.
So we are recording this the day after V-Day.
Yep.
How was it for you?
Chill. I cooked.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's pretty much it. We just chilled. Like, yeah.
Same thing.
Did a lot of ripping. I was gone like all day yesterday. Like I was doing ripping and running. Which I didn't have to do, but I procrastinated the day before. So I had to kind of make up for it on yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got home. I left the house I left the house about 12. I didn't get back home till about around. What time did I get home?
Had you gotten the boys yet or no?
No.
When you got back?
I got back. I had time. I had time. I had more.
So it wasn't too bad.
No, it wasn't bad. I think I got home about around 2.
Oh, that ain't bad.
30. Yeah.
You make it sound worse than what it was, man.
Yeah. I did.
Yeah.
I did.
Yeah. We pretty much chill. We was gonna go to we gonna go out for lunch because I work nights. I'll be evening time. I'm trying to chill, get a little sleep before I go to work.
Yes, understood that.
So and then I'm to the point now. I don't be wanting to deal with all the hassle. Valentine's night. I realize just if we ain't already got reservations, but we can just go straight there and sit down. I'm not trying to be out there in it.
I understand, bro. Trust me. Traffic.
Yeah. Yeah, that's just not me. So overall, it was good though.
I did everything online, so I mean, it was really just me going to pick it up.
Yeah.
But it's just a matter of fact, I had to drive to Greenville because.
Oh yeah.
Of course, because our mall doesn't have.
Ain't got nothing. Ain't got
anything at all.
And see, here's my dilemma every year. Mm-hmm. So my wife's birthday is 2 days before Valentine's. And then, so on the 12th, and then the 14th. And she the type, like, them 2 separate days. So I said,
of course.
I said, this year.
Most women want that.
I said, that ain't happening. I love you.
That's most women.
Yeah,
most women like,
that ain't happening.
Like, my birthday is separate. I got you. If your birthday... If you got a Christmas birthday, you forget that, dog. Like, look, hey, your Christmas is your birthday. Done.
Listen.
What you want to celebrate? Christmas or your birthday? What's up?
I ain't gonna say what. No comment on that. All right, y'all. This is episode of High Definition Podcast. We are a platform that has cultural conversations from a biblical worldview. We'll talk about literally anything, and we'll somehow, some way, we'll intertwine the Bible into it. We're not experts or anything like that. We're just students. Our opinions have changed over the years. So, wow, I can literally say over the years. We've been at this thing for a hot little bit.
4 years, dog. 4 years.
That just dawned on me.
Almost 4 years, dog.
That just dawned on me.
Like, almost. Them just flying by, too.
That just dawned on me, bro.
2023 was a blur.
That's facts.
Yeah.
It
was January, and then the next thing you know,
it was December. Yeah. So, but yeah, okay. We digress.
We did take a couple weeks off there, though. But it still went by, though.
Yeah, about a month at one time. So, yeah, if you have any questions or you agree or disagree with us, you want to tell us your concerns, there's a link tree in the description. By all means, our email is there. Instagram, Twitter, or X, Twitter, X, however you want to call it. I still call it Twitter. Facebook.
Same.
All of that is there. You can reach out to us. Make sure I got everything. Oh, follow us on Apple, Spotify, Google, all your major podcast platforms. Give us a 5-star review. And make sure I covered all my bases there. There we go. Like, comment, subscribe on YouTube. All that good stuff.
Yep.
So, this episode, I'm hitting my brother with something cold.
Yeah, because he hit me. I don't know what he's about to talk about.
I'm titling this one and breaking the narrative. Reason I'm doing that is so in 2022, or it was either December 2022. Somewhere between December 2022 to early 2023, the governor of Florida, he commissioned a grand jury panel to, let me backtrack. So over the years, y'all have probably, in many of our conversations, you've heard us bring up, the pandemic, different narratives that happen surrounding the pandemic or the pandemic, or however you want to call it. Different narratives about that. There were different things that happened that we have that we have discussed and wanted to bring to light and bring truth to the matter of there was a narrative that was being pushed on us, but there was truth that was trying to be suppressed that really could have helped save a lot of things and a lot of people. And we try to bring that truth to light. For example, if you would have just gotten out and actually got some sunlight, if you would have been exercising, you could have mitigated a lot of the COVID stuff.
This ain't good for you.
Yeah, just living a good, healthy lifestyle would have mitigated a lot of stuff instead of you feeling like you was gonna die if you didn't have your mask on,
Being
or
sick and shut in.
just all that crap. So that's that. If we go back to 2020, probably about late spring and the early summer, you started seeing some states open up. One of the main states that did was the state of Florida. And everybody flocked to Florida at some point or another.
Wide open. Even the Democrats themselves.
Exactly.
In the states that were shut down were flocking.
Yeah.
Flocking to Florida.
Because we went down there and it was
booming.
It was night and day. How it was in other states compared to Florida, it was just night and day.
It was jumping like G-Ho.
I mean, everything was open, no mandates. If you wanted to wear a mask, you could wear your mask. If you didn't want to, you didn't have to. I mean, it was just, everybody just living their life. I mean, it was night and day. So the governor of Florida, Governor Ron DeSantis, he commissioned a grand jury to kind of look into some of the things that happened during COVID. And the grand jury, they gave him, that's why I gave the time frame. It was between December 2022 to like January or February 2023 is when he commissioned, and they gave them a whole year to start releasing some of their findings. And they finally did their initial report. Keyword initial. They're not done. And there's a reporter she's actually in South Carolina. She went through the whole initial report from the grand jury and kind of gave a synopsis. Her name is Tracy Beans. You can find her on Twitter at Tracy Beans. Not Beans is spelled B-E-A-N-Z, not B-A-N-S. Tracy, just like how you would normally spell it. So I just kind of want to give some of her synopsis from the report. And I'm gonna put a link to the actual report in the description as well, so you can go through and read it yourself. I'm also going to link a video if they haven't taken it down by the time we do all our post production and things like that, and get ready to post it. The governor of Florida and his Surgeon General actually did a Zoom about this with some top level medical professionals. I mean, Stanford educated, Harvard, Yale educated. They have years of experiences with public administration, with public policy of how to properly look at things that happen health-wise and how to properly implement the correct policy so that people can make their own decisions. So I'll post that Zoom and I'll post a link to this report as well. So I kind of hit my brother Cole. I just want to get his reaction on some of this. So first thing out the gate, her first synopsis. Federal officials and agencies refuse to testify and can't be compelled. Further report acknowledges inflated numbers due to cash incentives benefiting hospitals. From the report, nevertheless, putting that money on offer creates incentives to report more than just hospitalizations for the COCO-19 disease. We know for a fact that this happened because numerous federal and state health officials have publicly stated that they did not ask or require hospitals to distinguish cases where someone was admitted with incidental COVID infection versus cases where someone was so sick with symptoms that he or she required hospitalizations. Thus, it is likely that the CDC's number of total hospitalizations is inflated to some degree with asymptomatic or minor infections that were classified as hospitalizations in order to financially benefit the hospital.
So, okay. This is nothing new. We talked about this.
We have definitely talked about
now,
that.
Of course, at the time that we did talk about this was all conspiracy. But I just love how over the course of several months, this stuff comes out, and
This is why I wanted to get him cold. I just want to get his reaction.
Like, bro, I heard a story about a kid who went there for a broken arm. They gave him a COVID, so no symptoms whatsoever. Mm-hmm. He tested positive. Yep. Apparently, he was asymptomatic. They were like, "Oh, we're gonna label you a COVID." What? I'm here for a broken arm, dog. I don't care about COVID. I'm not here about that right now. I'm here about a broken arm. I'm sitting here holding my arm. Mm-hmm. I need y'all to hurry up and reset this and pin it or whatever you need to do. I don't care about no COVID. You don't need to segregate me in no room because I'm asymptomatic, COVID positive. Beautiful.
The other thing that got me,
that's what they wrote. That's what. Yep. But we heard these stories. We've heard these stories. If you scour the social media universe, people were saying this stuff left and right. Yep. Like, oh, hospitals. People died from like cancer. And they contributed that. They said that COVID was a contributor to that. Like I said, you can go in for a broken arm, stub your toe, a headache. Now, of course, a headache was one of the symptoms they said, but something like a little migraine that you normally get. Mm-hmm. They classified you as COVID. So I mean, this ain't surprising at all. To me, it ain't surprising at all. To us, it ain't surprising. But whatever.
Here's the other thing that got me on this one though. The first part was the whole synopsis. Federal officials and agencies refused to testify, and they can't be compelled.
That don't surprise me either, because them buffoons that sit in these high-ranking places.
If everything that they told us was correct, they should not have had any issues.
You should be able to back it up.
What's the saying? A lie doesn't like to be questioned, and truth doesn't mind being questioned. Something like that. It's something to that effect.
That's fact.
It's something to that effect. I can't remember it verbatim.
And it's just.
Oh, it's more.
Proceed, my good friend. Proceed.
Next one. From the report. First, the numerator. When people die, other people tend to notice. Of course they're going to notice. This means that unlike symptomatic or especially asymptomatic infections, the number of people who died from COVID should be relatively easy to determine because deaths are recorded by hospitals, coroners, and state agencies. For example, CDC reports that as of the writing of this presentment, roughly 1.17 million Americans have died from the disease, like the number of total hospitalizations. However, this figure is very likely inflated to some extent with people who died with rather than of COVID in order to financially benefit whatever hospital the person died in. The CARES Act also provides for a death benefit of up to $9,000 to families of those who died from the disease. The grand jury, in her synopsis, the grand jury acknowledges inflated death numbers from arising from passing with rather than from COVID.
So it wasn't COVID that killed them. They just had it. They tested positive when they tested positive when they
So
died.
if you died from a motorcycle accident
and they swabbed you
and you had
it in your system, they will say that you died with COVID.
Exactly. Or that you died from it.
You got to read the language there. This is the thing. When we see bills and stuff being passed, you have to read and understand the language. Mm-hmm. because simple words like with and from can be swapped to give it a different narrative.
Yep.
And if you don't catch it, and you're kind of anxious about what's going on, that's going to create a level of anxiety, an inflated elevation of anxiety in you. Like, you have to step back, read it, understand, comprehend, and then make an assessment from there. Because this, like I said previous, this ain't shocking at all to me. It's not.
Do you think we will ever actually get accountability?
What is no? No, Alex. No for 500.
Oh, for 5 million.
We will not.
And I guess another reason too, I wanted to kind of bring this to you and to our audience and those that will listen. There's now a narrative that the pandemic's over. We need to just move on, forget about all of it. But there was irreparable damage and a whole bunch of issues that arose from the pandemic. That's gonna be here for years.
Mm-hmm. And the thing that we should be able to be. The word adult is a very loose word. We should be at a mental and emotional place where we can discuss said things like this without being triggered.
Yep.
Because, like you said, the damage has been done. Let's not just smooth over what caused the damage, because there are people that are dealing with real life consequences because of this stuff. Post-pandemic, mental health
on the rise.
Issues are on the rise. Okay? And a lot of that's because of fear.
Yep.
Let's be honest. Let's be honest.
There's still policies in place that if this was to happen again.
Oh, yeah.
Here's the thing that got me.
But are we paying attention to this stuff, though?
No. Because here's the thing that got me. Without one bullet being fired, without one mass call, it seems like everybody implemented the same policy and all the people just succumbed to it. No pushback, no nothing. You had a small block of people, but it wasn't enough to be like, wait a minute. You're trying to come against my very right just to breathe.
So check it. Remember that conversation I had about knowing what your rights as a citizen are? We did it We the People. You have to understand the power that you have as an individual. Now, how many representatives we have?
State or local or federal?
It's federal wise.
House of Representatives is 435 members of the House, 100 members of the Senate.
Okay. Now, from a local, most of that stuff was federally mandated, so we know who it came from. What? No, state or states?
Federal and state.
Federal and state. Oh, okay, the federal pushed it, and then the state kind of just implied it. So, all right. We got to understand what our
push pause, because hence why we just said in the very beginning, like late spring to early summer 2020, is some of these states started opening back up. They did that on a state and local level. Hence, just look at how Florida's being run.
Right.
A lot of people disagree with some of the stuff that they're doing. We can have that conversation another time. But just look at how they were run compared to other places, and look at how everybody flocked to Florida because of the policies that they did compared to everywhere else. Just look at, hence, to the two states. Look at, if you go back to 2020, look at how Florida was being run. Look at how California was being run. And we'll leave it there.
Night and day. Night and day. We have to understand what our power is as tax paying citizens.
Yep.
We all have the same
rights.
It's written.
Mm-hmm.
If we outnumber our state legislation, we outnumber the federal. If we go, hey, so I see you doing all this shiesty stuff. I don't like that too much. If everybody does that, then what happens? They have to fold.
Because guess what? They need our vote to get back in office.
There you go. So they're more likely to go, oh, you know, you're right. We probably shouldn't have done that all to get your vote again in the next 2 to 4 years or whatever. So yeah, you have to understand that. Like, we have to understand that.
We do.
And when we don't, this stuff happens.
Let's see.
Which means we need to start teaching civics a little more.
Here's the thing I have. When we were coming up,
we had econ and government.
We did. And the ones who actually taught us, they didn't actually let politics and stuff get in. They just taught us the lesson, and they actually had like a love for the country.
Let's give me the facts.
That's it.
Don't give me your feelings.
That's it.
Leave your feelings out of it because I don't care.
And
you're here to teach me. You're here to teach me.
That's it.
This.
Don't indoctrinate me.
Leave your feeling out of it. I don't care if you disagree with this or agree with
That's it.
Just teach it to me. Let me make the assessment myself.
And we're not getting there right now. I'll probably take it to my grave unless I hear somebody say something even more powerful. Your most famous quote for me: I love my country. I just don't trust my government.
You're not. Nope.
And I think back when we were coming up, our teachers, they literally had like a love for the country. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? They might disagree with stuff, but they didn't try to push certain narratives on us. They just taught us a lesson. That was it.
Like,
and granted, they came from a different generation too. So. And
and this is when you have sidebar conversations. You can have those conversations. Like, how you feel about this, teach? I don't really agree with it. Okay. I'm glad they didn't let that come out during the lesson.
Right.
Because now it's because now the whole conversation is like, why you feel a certain way about that policy? Yeah. Now we get into opinions, feelings. Let's stick to the facts.
Yep. That's how we need.
Let's go from there.
We just need the facts.
That's it. Just give me the facts.
If you just get if you just lay out the information for them, they will make the decision that's best for them. Yeah. But if you try to withhold information in order to push them a certain, no, you're in the wrong.
That's definitely wrong.
Give the people the facts; they can make their own decisions.
Yeah.
It was during the pandemic. I heard it was a poll that came out, and they found that as people were getting the information, they had already started kind of pulling back from like going out so much, because they were starting to get the information on it. And then when they started getting even more information, they started realizing, okay, I'm good. I can go here, I can go there, I can do this, and I can do that. They were making their own decisions. They weren't being forced or coerced into it. I mean, even though we kind of said that people kind of don't pay attention to a lot of stuff that's going on, there is stuff that they are paying attention to. So if you give people the information, they'll make their own decision. All right, so the next two are kind of gonna go hand in hand. The grand jury, through the testimony, they got to as accurate of a number as they could in regards to the actual IFR. IFR stands for infection fatality rate. So basically, if you were infected, did it eventually lead to your death? But let me go to the next one though. She kind of synopsis on this one. The comorbidities. Now, you've heard us talk about this where, I had to pull it up, where 95% of, according to the CDC's own data, 95% of COVID deaths have an average of 4 comorbidities, most of those being lifestyle or nutrition related. We've talked about that several times. But according to the grand jury, though, the comorbidities were not the biggest predictor of fatality. Age dwarfs those.
Okay, which I understand.
So they criticized the CDC for attempting simplicity over accuracy. So when it comes to, if you go back, if you go back and look at the numbers of those who were infected with COVID and then those who actually passed from it, for the most part, it tended to be, unless you had a whole lot of underlying issues, it really affected the elderly. And the average age of that was around 78. What's the average lifespan?
For a male, it's 73.5.
And
for a woman, it's 77, 78.
So it was mainly getting people who were basically at that point already.
Yeah.
But if you stratify, if you actually start putting in age, so the younger you were, the healthier you were, it really didn't bother you. So how many of us were forced to mask, stay locked down, even have a mask on while you outside in the sunlight when science even says viruses does not do good in sunlight?
We still see people driving around with masks on.
In the car by yourself.
Bruh, I saw a video. I don't want to say the name of this
don't.
NBA player was driving his convertible sports car with the top down with a mask on.
It's even doctors. So when the pandemic first started, there was the two doctors, the emergency room doctors out in California. They were busting. I mean, they were busting the narrative from the jump. Their video got taken down like that.
Oh yeah.
But in it, what they were saying was, okay, your mask does not stop aerosol viruses, and there's substantial scientific studies that say this. Furthermore, if they actually stop aerosol viruses, why weren't we wearing masks all our lives during cold and flu season?
Well, if that's the case too, why aren't the people who serve you at Chipotle or these cafeterias wearing masks? They're breathing around your food.
Exactly. So you really think that little piece of cloth is going to stop an aerosol?
Like I said before, they did tests on this stuff. They sprayed something behind the mask, and the particles that came through the mask, still pretty good bit of particles.
If you could smell your fart through that mask ain't stop it.
These are facts.
I'm gonna say it like that. If you can smell your fart through that mask ain't stopping nothing.
These are facts, man.
So, before we next part of the report is on page 13. Before we begin examining these categories, we would like to highlight a common refrain that has developed as our society struggles to canonize and perhaps memory hold the experience of the past 4 years. It has become very popular in 2023 and now 2024 for many advocates of NPIs to point to a lack of available scientific data when confronted with some of the more unfair or egregious consequences they impose. To be clear, scientific research and their consequences did not begin with the outbreak of COVID. A wealth of contemporaneous scientific information already existed in major publications that could have informed a much more robust and meaningful response with respect to NPIs, but much of it was ignored or even attacked by mainstream public health and media entities in the early months of the pandemic for reasons that are not always clear. In short, this was not an information problem. It was a judgment problem. So, Tracy Bean's synopsis: attempts by proponents of lockdown, school closures, etc., to memory hold COVID decisions, stating they didn't have scientific data, are futile. Data was available. It was just ignored and attacked.
We saw a lot of that.
And how many of us are still believing this? Dude, it was somebody on Facebook probably a couple weeks ago. She got on there. She said, I think it's time for us to start back wearing our mask again. I said, why? It didn't work the first time. So she coming back on me.
What'd you say?
She said, well, I take it you ain't gonna wear your mask. I said, you're right. I ain't wore it since the early summer of 2020 when I found out that didn't work. Next question. I said, next question.
I got no comeback on that.
And then, to make it bad, you kept scrolling down. It was for people. One dude was like, he's like, yeah, I wore mine and I got the shots. And I still got COVID after all of that. She was like, oh. Another person. Yeah, I did all that too. And I still got it.
Yeah. You're gonna get it regardless. It's like the flu. This was literally. I mean, there's a video of Fauci talking about this. Oh, I shouldn't have said his name, but anyway, I did anyway. But anyway, years ago about the flu, he's like, the best way to overcome something is actually to catch it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because here's the thing, guys. This is the thing we
learned this in biology in high school.
We do, but a lot of y'all weren't paying attention, and it shows. But the thing that we have to understand about the human body, this what makes God such genius is an understatement. I'm sorry, he's God. End of discussion.
Only an intelligent being could form the body the way he did.
By far. When you cut yourself, scrape your knee or anything, what does your body do?
It goes into healing it. I mean,
right. Your body starts sending what? It starts sending white blood cells to heal it up, to scab it over. And then after a while, the skin grows, grafts back, and then the scab falls off. And then you have a new layer of epidermis there, right?
That's it.
Same way goes for ourselves. There's a video right now I saw about, I think it was a white blood cell was traveling through red blood cells to find like bad cells or anything infectious that it could, get rid of. And it's literally, you see this little black thing going through these different little dots and it's looking for things. He created the body in such a unique way that when you do get sick, your immune system goes, oh, what's this? Let me get a piece of that. Oh, I see what you're made of.
Yep.
Okay, so now, hey, functions of the body. Here, take this. Adapt to it.
Yep.
So now your body goes, oh, okay. Yeah, you're going to be sick for a little bit. Okay. You're going to be a little sick. But after a while, your body does what? It starts to heal. A fever is not always a bad thing, people. A fever means that your body is heating itself up to kill something.
Yep.
Think about when you get bit by a spider. Some of us have been bit by mosquito spiders. That the area that you get bit, it gets really red and it gets really, really hot.
Yeah.
Because it is killing off what? An infection.
Yep.
That's what your body does. Now, I'm not saying you should let your body get to a point where,
everything's rolled up.
Yeah. But a lot of times, in most cases, a fever is a good thing. So your body is going to do what? It's going to react a specific way to adapt to it so that after you come out of it, if you catch it again, your body's going to go, we know how to fight this.
Yep.
You probably still will get sick, but you won't be as sick as the first time.
Yep.
Because I've seen people catch the flu multiple times in a year.
Yeah.
But I've noticed too that the first time you catch the flu from that last time or the periods after that, I think I've seen somebody get the flu like maybe 3 times a year. It was like a winter flu, like towards the spring, and then like summer, which is wild. But they weren't as sick as they were the first time.
Yep.
Because your body is going to adapt and react a specific way. That's how God created us. Now, for my germaphobes out there, germs are not always bad. My whole house had the flu. But who? Me. The reason being, I am a clean person. But I know that being too clean is not a good thing.
Yep.
When I was a kid, I was outside a lot. I ate dirt. I ain't gonna lie about it. I drop something, I pick it up. You know what I'm saying? God made dirt. Dirt don't hurt. Put it in your mouth, let it work. But guess what?
5-second rule.
It's working. So my thing is it's okay to be clean, but let's not get to the point where your whole house smells like bleach, and you're like every time you sneeze or anything, you gotta clean. You clean your house. That's cool, but understand that like being too clean and being too clean of an environment is not always good for you.
It harm your immune system.
Yeah.
Next thing she wrote as a synopsis: lockdowns were acknowledged not to have a net benefit and be implausible in stopping the spread, but media coming out of China changed the minds of the people saying that they didn't work. In short, lockdowns were useless in stopping the spread, and in small targeted areas may have postponed spread or flattened the curve, but the result would always be the same: infection. It's just how long it would have taken. So, as a saying I heard on the podcast recently, lockdowns didn't work, but they sure enough killed.
They killed businesses, killed people.
Cause in some areas we were so locked down, some of you probably had elderly family members passed away over FaceTime instead of having their family right there with them.
Yeah.
Numerous stories about that.
And just think about that mom and pop store down the road that they couldn't make no money.
Yep.
Now they had to either sell the business or close the business.
Yep.
Because they could make no money. So yeah, it killed in multiple ways.
Yep.
Not just physically.
From the report, there is uncertainty about the effects of face masks. The low to moderate certainty of evidence means our confidence in the effect estimate is limited and that the true effect may be different from the observed estimate of the effect. There should have been an RCT, which stands for randomized clinical trial, on the efficacy of masks, but the CDC said no one thought to run one. So they pushed for us to wear them, but they never thought to actually run a randomized clinical trial, which is, according to medical researchers, medical professionals, is probably one of the most accurate ways to test and study whatever it is that you're trying to find out.
You have to have a isolated group study to actually come up with a synopsis on how something's going to react a certain way. It's like the military, all right? You go through these military drills for situations, right? Mm-hmm. So that you can be better prepared for them. Why? Okay. Why we didn't do that for this? Okay.
Even when we were in school, when you learned the scientific method, you had to have a control group.
Yes.
And an experimental group. The control group, everything's keep going as normal.
As normal.
The experimental group is
we're going to shift the little things here, take this out, implement this, and work with that.
And they never did that. But yet the CDC was one of the main ones behind the as many of our churches were doing according to CDC guidelines, but according to this initial report, CDC wasn't even doing what they need to do find out if this was the correct thing to do.
I'll say this. Ron DeSantis must have A pluses in science. Let me tell you why. Because we saw how Florida ran and what was going on down there versus what California was doing. So in a sense, we had one. It was inadvertent though, where we had, hey, we're gonna run like normal guys, and then we're gonna look and see what they're doing over there.
It was even before them. It was another one. The country of Sweden. They didn't do anything. They didn't change anything. They didn't lock down. Didn't have everybody wearing masks. Nothing. Hardly anything happened with them. Yes, you had people get infected. You had people die, but it was like the numbers were low. Now, any other time, if we talking politics, a lot of your politicians, they want to be just like Sweden on everything. But when it came to this,
and then the Sweden,
who is Sweden? We ain't never heard of them.
We're not touching Sweden.
We ain't never heard of them. Fun how that works.
Right. It works. It benefits you, but when it benefits us, no.
Officials and our Officials in our taxpayer-funded agencies knew that masks had little to no efficacy at stopping or slowing the spread of COVID. They just wanted to control you. She said, read it, absorb it, understand it, vow to let it never happen again. They knew. And they were using your tax dollars to fund a whole bunch of stuff to go against you and not work for you.
Are you surprised? Are you surprised? Are you surprised?
Another reason for the inefficacy of the synopsis from the report. Once again, I'm going to link the report in the description. You can go read it for yourself. Another reason for inefficacy: COVID is spread via aerosol. It is a virus that is spread through the air. They measure it in microns. And the micron of a COVID, of the SARS-CoV-2, it is smaller than that of the flu. And there's substantial evidence in scientific studies that show that masks don't even stop the flu. So if it's smaller, if the masks don't stop the flu and the SARS-CoV-2, which leads to COVID, is smaller than that, what makes you think that mask is going to stop the COVID? Ask yourself that question and then make your own decision. Some of y'all probably still going to wear it, but.
Do you?
Oh. And for those of y'all that want to say, talk about the N95s, they addressed this in the initial report too. They knew it spread via aerosol, but it was never discussed, and they knew in 2020. The grand jury states the inefficacy of masks, even N95s, and questions whether we'd have the plexiglass shields that separate us everywhere still if the truth was known. They wanted to control you. They knew this stuff. But yet and still, all they wanted to do was tell you what to do. How is it that only a small handful of people get to control the lives of 300-something million people?
Give them bread and circuses, and they won't revolt.
And again, a synopsis from the report. The fact that this was hidden actually harmed high-risk people into feeling they were safe when they weren't. Wearing a mask does not protect you. This is from the report. This incomplete and inaccurate advice is not without its own potential consequences. High-risk individuals who have been misled into believing masks offer more protection than they did may have been encouraged to do activities they should not have done or to go places they should not have gone. People who got sick with the Coco 19 may have persisted in their daily activities in a misplaced belief that wearing a mask, even an N95 mask, would protect those around them from potential transmission. The isolation bubbles that appeared around exterior restaurant tables in some states may have increased the risk of viral spread between whoever was inside the bubble by limiting sources of potential ventilation. For that matter, congregating in an open air spaces should have been encouraged back in 2020 and not shunned. So shutting down the parks, shutting down beaches, they found that one of the best things that could have prevented a lot of stuff was actually having good ventilation. What are some of the best ventilated places that they try to shut down? Hospitals, airplanes. Airplanes got some of the absolute best ventilation. And furthermore, they try to shut you down from going outside. What better ventilation can you get than being outside in the sunlight?
The sun's a detoxifier.
Since they knew it was aerosolized, they also knew that social distancing was useless, and people should have more been focused on ventilation, if anything. So, no, there was no good logical reason to stand 6 feet away from each other, or to have to sit in chairs in circles, or to not be allowed to go to a park or a funeral or church. If you still been forced to wear a mask in church, take the thing off.
I never put it on.
I just said this. She sent out. It was safest on planes and in hospitals due to HIPAA. The tyrants literally took over. Planes and hospitals have the best ventilation systems.
Yeah, because you're in an enclosed space with a lot of people, so you gotta have good ventilation. Got to.
In conclusion, thus far, no one followed the science. And guess what? This is just the initial report. They have more coming.
I love that. I love the fact that everybody was trying to use that. Follow the science. Follow the science. What science are we talking here?
Exactly.
You talking about political science? The science that the politics are using, or the actual science? Progress. I'm sorry.
This grand jury that's down in Florida, is apolitical and diverse across all demographics. From the report, given that this is our first interim presentment, we wish to make several things clear. First and foremost, as an institution, the statewide grand jury is apolitical. The members of this grand jury are not public officials, and we have no specific agenda with respect to these issues. We were selected at random, based solely on our commitment to impartiality and on our willingness to devote significant amounts of our own personal time, month after month, to this process. Through the operation of chance only, this body is racially and ethnically diverse in age, gender, politics, and even diverse in lifestyle. Our main uniting feature is that each of us believes the citizens of the state of Florida deserve unbiased answers to the important questions raised by the petition and the impanelment order. Moreover, we concur that if violations of Florida criminal law occurred with respect to COVID-19 shots, they must be addressed by the appropriate authorities. The shots were not really acknowledged in this report, which is why I think on the next one, they're going to go even more in depth into that. So, yeah. Just want to present this information, bust some of these narratives, and also just make you aware that this fight is not over. Because if something else happens, they're going to run this same playbook back. What are you going to do? Are we going to let them try to say that you're non-essential, that your business is non-essential? Are we going to let them say that the church is non-essential? Are we going to let them say that you have to mask your kids? Another negative that happened during the pandemic. Childhood development started lacking. Because you got a mask on your face and you try to talk to your child, kids learn by watching you move your face, move your mouth. Speech development, it took a hit. Go and look at it yourself.
You notice too that the development of children around that time frame decreased.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see the numbers on that.
I'll try to have it on. I'll try to post a link. Cause there was a study on that too. I got it in one of my notes. I'll post that too. Yeah, childhood speech development it decreased because everybody sitting there wearing masks, and then you forcing your 2-year-old to wear a mask when even the data said COVID does not affect kids like that.
And one of the things that people gotta realize is kids learn speech through watching
Exactly.
mouth movement. So if I'm speaking to you from behind a mask and you can't see what I'm saying or even read my lips as words are coming out,
Yep.
a child it's gonna stunt the growth
Exactly.
of a child.
Exactly. So they come out with another report, we'll probably do this again. Because this still needs to be talked about. I love the nightcap with Unc and Ocho. I love it, but one thing Unc said that I didn't agree with, Because they were talking about, they brought this up with when it came to like Aaron Rodgers and some of what he said about Travis Kelce, him being Pfizer sponsored, endorsed, whatever they call it. He's like, man, we just need to just let this go and move on.
Wait, Uncle is too?
No, they talking about Travis Kelce.
Oh, puppet. Okay, yeah.
And he was like, we just need to move on from COVID. I like, no, we can't.
No, you can't just move on. Like, we're not gonna let them gaslight us like this, and then we just don't let that roll.
Because how many of us, even though the report didn't really talk about it, but how many of you were forced to? We can't even call it a vaccine. How many of you were forced to take a shot?
Therapeutic.
God, probably can't even call it that now.
Right about that. Yeah.
How many of you were forced to take a shot just to keep your job, and now you're starting to develop some issues, and you know it happened. Those issues didn't come until after you had that shot. Something you might have to deal with the rest of your life.
Or you had something that heightened it.
So no, we can't just memory hold this and just forget about it because it was wrong.
Can't forget. Remember, always.
Another, some I'm gonna link. You know what? I'm gonna do this in real time while we're recording. Go ahead and say something real quick.
Yeah, so I mean, they can't let them just gaslight us and then try to skate past that. That don't work. I mean, you think about that, like in personal relationships, somebody do you wrong, you should have the ability to check them. And the thing is, we should be able to hold these people in these positions of authority that we as citizens have given them accountable, and they should be able to take that accountability and give us answers to the questions that we desire to have answered.
Yep.
We have to have that. Like, those are the checks and balances that we have.
If you've never heard of the Nuremberg Code, you should look into it because all of this was violated during the pandemic. Number one, the voluntary consent of the human subject is absolutely essential. The experiment should be such as to yield fruitful results for the good of society. The experiment should be so designed and based on the results of animal experimentation and a knowledge of the natural history of the disease.
Push pause. Go back up. You said the good of society?
Yep.
That term good is perceptual because they're going to say, hey, now this is because we're dumb and we don't do research and we don't pay attention in science class to stuff. When they say the good of society, they may say, hey, this mask is good for you. We should go, what's the science behind it that makes it good for us?
Yep.
Because if you're going to muzzle me,
I need to know why.
I need to know why. And I need to be able, and it needs to be multiple science from different demographics of scientists around the world who aren't paid off to give me an accurate synopsis of why this works. Proceed.
I already read number 3. Number 4, the experiment should be so conducted as to avoid all unnecessary physical and mental suffering and injury.
Woo! Violate that. Big time.
Number 5, no experiment should be conducted where there is a prior reason to believe that death or disabling injury will occur. When the Pfizer reports came out, they knew this stuff. Even part of the report, they knew it had a negative impact on pregnant women.
And this is why they gave them a court-ordered pass. That's why when you get the whatever that is in your arm, and let's just say
you
have an adverse effect happens, you can't sue.
Those companies are not liable.
They're not liable.
Number 6, the degree of risk to be taken should never exceed that determined by the humanitarian importance of the problem to be solved by the experiment. Number 7, proper preparation should be made and adequate facilities provided to protect the experimental subject against even remote possibilities of injury, disability, or death.
Woo! I laid that.
Number 8, the experiment should be conducted only by scientifically qualified persons.
Hey, Bill Gates is not a scientifically proof in person. All right.
During the course of the experiment, the human subject should be at liberty to bring the experiment to an end.
There's your power right there. You have it. Nah, we ain't doing this. Shout out to Ron DeSantis. Shout out to Ron.
Number 10, this last one. During the course of the experiment, the scientist in charge must be prepared to terminate the experiment at any stage if he has probable cause to believe in the exercise of the good faith, superior skill, and careful judgment required of him that a continuation of the experiment is likely to result in injury, disability, or death to the experimental subject. Every last one of these was violated.
1 through 10, violated.
And the Nuremberg Code, it goes back to what the Nazis were doing to the Jews after World War II. And people were hung. They were hung for what they did. All of these were violated during the pandemic. So the question is, should it happen again, what are you going to do? Are you going to comply?
We revolt at dawn.
This is another episode of the High Definition Podcast. I'm Maurice.
I'm Torez.
And remember to live life
From the highest definition.
We're going to catch y'all on the next episode.